Welcome back to Newsmaker Live, and thank you very much for staying tuned to the program. We have Vincent Mc Doom, the creative director of Haute Couture, on with us our set this evening, giving us a rundown of what transpired yesterday at the Audi Showroom. And I must tell you that it was a fantastic show. I am not in any way a fashionista, but I mean, I was impressed. I was very, very impressed. And after yesterday, I think, you know, if there's another showcase, I will attend. You know, I was willing to pay my way to attend last evening.
That's quite interesting. But, that's a lovely compliment.
Yeah. I was looking forward to it because of, you know, the hype and what was advertised, what was billed for the show. Let's talk a bit before we go into the challenges. Let's talk a bit about the models that you featured last evening.
What would you like to know?
Yeah, tell me about them, how they progressed from how you got them and what you showed last evening, how they performed.
Well, initially, you know, the tourist board called me in because they had this idea and they wanted really to put on a show. So they called me in and asked me for a proposition. But I didn't have the time to write a proposition, but I did get in touch with the Tracy Warner Arnold. And I explained to her what I wanted, and what I wanted was to bring in 2 or 3 designers from France, bring in a few international models, and use only Saint Lucian models, and look for Saint Lucian designers. But it would have been too expensive for her at that time because they had already done the lineup for the singing part of jazz, and the art part was getting the rest. You know, and in getting the rest, they did not get, you know, the bigger part. They didn't get the bigger bulk, you know, of the expenses. So finally, what I did was that they told me that they were bringing me in, you know, as to scout the models and to train the models. And when I got here, I realized that a lot of things were happening because everybody had gotten a position, but in getting all of the position, they were putting the cat before the horse because they wanted to look for models. You know, Adrian Auger was mandated to build a stage when the models were not trained, and we did not know what path we were taking with, you know, the models, because, you know, you need a special choreography. You do not know what it is. And, you know, they had brought in May Wayne, you know, as a sponsor, and then she ended up producing. I do not know what was there to produce because it was also confusing. So then I said to them, you know, what is very funny, you know, Vuitton would not be Vuitton, you know, without a creative director, and all of the fashion houses would not be. So they need somebody who has more of a vision, you know, because if I came in, you know, as, you know, a model scout and to train the models, any added information would be consultant, and that is very expensive. So I would have to, they would have to pay me for it, you know. But then, you know, I said to them, you know, I would be willing, you know, to be the creative director on the program, and it is necessary to have a creative director because they are not fashion literates, you know. So the thing is, because they didn't know anything about fashion, they wanted this project, but they didn't know what was going on and how it was going to go out on. So I came in at a meeting, I explained to them what I was looking for, what I could have given them, you know, and May came in and she said she had already contacted, you know, a few friends of hers in the Caribbean and overseas because they could not have brought in the designers that I wanted from France, but they accepted to bring 2 designers from New York that May had proposed to them, which are friends of hers, and she was using in She magazine, and they had brought in, you know, other designer friends of May, you know, from the foreign, you know, the different countries in the Caribbean. So we had, in fact, designers from the foreign designers, but we did not know what we were using as Saint Lucian designers.
Now let me interject there because I'm hearing a lot of me. I mean, you guys work together. You, from what was announced, you collaborated with me and also did to put it together. What was your working relationship like during the course of this production?
With me?
Yeah, well, I mean, the team that was put together.
Oh, I didn't have any problems because I was working with Denise Lay. I worked with Russell Lake in getting the models together. And the tourist board was supposed to have gotten or have had an idea of who the Saint Lucian designers were. But unfortunately, when I got here, we had known that Queen Esther of Kumba Designs was the only person, you know, that was doing it, and they had what we had called a cooperative that they were supposed to see, because the cooperative had a number of designers working together, you know, and the cooperative did not want, you know, to come in as separate designers. They wanted to come in as a group, you know, and coming in as a group does not help, in the sense that, you know, each designer must showcase his own work. And as a cooperative, it's difficult to showcase designers as a cooperative. You have to showcase each other as a separate entity. So it was very difficult. So I was to go and scout with them with this cooperative and see what was going on. And then the cooperative kind of fizzled out, you know. And then we were left with a jewelry designer called Tracy Betts, and we were left with, you know, another Saint Lucian designer called J-Lo, and we were left with two accessory designers, Membet, who was doing bags, and Perry, who was doing bags. But you know what? If it's a fashion industry, you need garments to put all of these things on. You know what I mean? So what I did was that I started scouting for them, because they were putting the cat before the horse, in fact. And they were looking for models, and they did not know on who. They did not know what was going on the models. You know, so I started looking around, and then I called in Lynn Bristol, I called in Luciana Maxwell, I called in Shazi and the various other designers, and I proposed them to the tourist board, and they accepted. So in having all of the designers, I decided to work with them as well and help them create a line for haute couture. So I took my time to do this, but I also took the time, you know, to scout the models with May, Denise, and Russell Lake. We scouted one part of these models in Castries, and we found a beautiful set of them, but we were not through with the casting, because we needed about 30 girls and 10 boys. So what we did was that we went down to the south of the island, and we scouted, and we got the rest. And I got all of these models. I cannot take the credit. I will not take the credit for saying that I discovered these girls and these boys. I did not, really. Because do you realize in Saint Lucia, we have 30 model agencies. In small Saint Lucia, we had 30 model agencies, and these models came all to the castings. Some of them were with agencies, some of them were not, you know. And then, you know, I was very happy they came. I did not know which agency they belonged to, but we scouted what we felt was good and what could have given us what I wanted in my vision of what haute couture for Saint Lucia could be. So what I did was that when the models were scouted, I started working with them. The difficulties that arise in working with them, I realized that the models did not know anything about the fashion industry. They felt it was just being beautiful, you know, was being a model. And being beautiful, anybody that's beautiful can think you're a model. But it's very easy to say that, because who told you you can be a model? Was it a designer? Was it a fashion photographer? Was it a model scout? You know, or was it your mother? Because for the parents, the kids are always beautiful. Or was it your butcher, your baker? You know, something, you know, you must know what it is like, you know, to be in fashion. And people tend to take it negatively when you say a wannabe. A wannabe is somebody who wants to be a model and who has not had the opportunity to become a model. And to be a model for me is not only walking the runway, it's also knowing what it takes, you know. Some of these kids did not even realize that their hair, their face, their teeth were tools. You know, these models came to me and they did not have, you know, the basic necessities to go on a casting, which is a book or a composite, which is their business card to the business, you know. And they did not know who were the designers, the international designers. They did not know who were international photographers. They did not even know, some of them, what were the fashion magazine. So all of this we were trying to work with, but a lot of these models were very, very down. One of the reasons being, these models were completely exploited. They were not being paid, and they had very low self-esteem and no confidence in themselves. So I had to do a lot of work with them, with Denise Lee, to help them build their self-esteem, to help them build their confidence. And we had to unlearn them what they were being taught by the so-called agencies and teach them what the business is really like. You know, again, I say, I cannot take the credit for discovering them because they were already discovered by local agencies. I only educated them and give them the knowledge that was necessary to have what it takes to enter this business. That's all I did.
Now I know it's been only 6 weeks thereabout where you have been working with them.
Exactly 6 weeks.
6 weeks, yes. So
I was supposed to work with them for 4 weeks. But 3 weeks, but I worked with them for 6 weeks.
In terms of the work you have done with them and what the products that have emerged as a result of that work that has been put in over those six weeks, do you see that there is any among the group that you have who is ready to go out international, or who has the potential to go out there and make a mark?
Oh, but excuse me, would you share, please, the video with the public? The public cannot tell the difference.
I'm sure you're seeing the video right now.
The public cannot tell the difference between who were the Saint Lucian international models and who were the local models. You cannot tell because they were worked and driven so hard, by myself and Denise. All of them are ready. I am sorry, but unfortunately, the thing is, I can only but speak to an agency, and the agency is who decides. I cannot force an agency to take a talent. But what is quite interesting, I have spoken to an agency who is the third largest agency in the world called Metropolitan, and one of the Saint Lucian models, a girl, I've sent her information to the agency, and the agency loves her.
Which one is that?
Tara Edwards.
Tara, okay.
And they love her, and they like to see her. And I think what I'm going to do when I go back, I will try and organize to see if they can bring her in for 3 months so she can learn the business, and go to different castings and see what happens for her. And also, what we have discovered as well, that one of our local talents, designer talents, might go on, to Project Runway. So for me, a lot has happened. Not only this, when the foreign talent came in, the foreign designers, guest designers came in, when they saw the models, they were like going, these were the best models we've ever seen in the Caribbean. Those models walked so perfectly, they could not tell the difference, and they have asked that the models come to Trinidad, to Martinique, to Barbados, and also to the United States to model for them. So for me, it was a huge success. And what I saw as precious gems that were very rough, I took it and I cleaned it up, and that's what gave you haute couture. So that aspect of the show for me is my baby, and I'm very proud of each and every one of the models who did haute couture.
Now, just before we go to our next break, let's talk about haute couture and the name, the thinking behind haute couture. Was that your idea? Was that the tourist board's idea? Was it a collaboration where you came together and you said, okay, we want to put on this show, so this might be a good tag for it?
Wow, I came in at a point where the tourist board had already mandated certain people to do things. Adrian Auger was supposed to do the stage for a fashion show, something I don't think that he has the knowledge for. I'm sorry.
Why do you say that?
Because Adrian Auger is used to doing stages, but stages for music events, for pageantry events. But fashion show events is not just a runway. You're telling a story, and in the story, the runway must be to the creative director or the designer's image. Because it tells the story that he wants to tell in presenting the line. You know what I mean? And Adrian Auger, he was mandated and he was supposed to do it. When I went to the Audi building, I felt that a stage was not necessary. We could have done it flat. But then Adrian Auger, that's another story. But in discovering,
before you
we're
go
coming
on
to the name of the haute couture.
We're coming to haute couture. But then while you're on that issue, was there not communication between you as the artistic director and the planners to determine, okay, what your vision was, what you wanted to see as far as the stage, as far as the runway, as far as all those elements, the aesthetics of the venue?
The first time I came to Saint Lucia to work with the models, to scout the models, the next day, I came in on a Tuesday. The Wednesday, I called a meeting with the tourist board. And when I called a meeting with the tourist board, they were all the members of the board, and me and other people were there. And I didn't know anybody. I walked in and I said, I do not know you guys. I'm very happy you gave me the opportunity to do this, but you have to trust me to do it. I say, I don't think any of you guys know what fashion is all about. And they agreed that they did not know. And what I said to them was, I don't believe in nepotism. I don't believe in cliques working together and giving the jobs off to each other. Let me do this my way because I know how to do it. And I show them a photo of the stage that I want to get done. And you must know something, Clinton. I document everything I do and I say. And every document that is sent to me, I have copies so I can prove everything I say. I have learned this in my business because I know I'm a public figure. This is very easy to be attacked. But critic, I don't care. I take kindly to critique. I grew with it. That's why I'm who I am today. So, I had spoken to them. I had given them my vision. I had told them everything and they had accepted. Mr. John Emmanuel, he went on the air with me right away and we spoke and we announced my arrival and everything and I started working with them. So they knew, what I wanted, you know what I mean? But somewhere along the line, it's very difficult, to communicate with the people from the tourist board because you have to go through so many people to get to where you want to go. And they wait so long or they take such a long time before they give you an answer. And by the time they are ready to give you an answer, the original idea has fizzled down to something which has nothing to do with it, you know what I mean? But then and again, I was brought in as a creative director, and as the creative director, I was not allowed to work the way I wanted to work because every decision that I took was vetoed. And I had to fight with them to get what I want from them. So it was very difficult.
Now that vetoing, as you put it, was it based on finance? Was it based on the ideas of being too risky? You coming from Paris and Saint Lucia being the society that it is, and being more cloistered, being more I don't want to say closed, but conservative in the way we do things. What was the biggest factor that to your mind led to vetoing of decisions that you made?
If I was brought in, I was brought in because they went on the air themselves and said they wanted something of international standards. So for me, if you brought me in, you wanted international standards, you're supposed to listen to what I have to say, And in listening to what I have to say, if you tell me yes to one thing, and a few days later you say no to the thing, I have a problem with this. You either respect your word, because I came in, I gave up, I repeat again for Saint Lucians, I gave up a 60,000 euro job to be here. I gave 6 weeks of my time to be here, to train and work on this. I gave my image and I gave also my name. So I am allergic to failure. So I'm not going to do something, because if it fails in Saint Lucia and you can see it's so easy to use your telephone, and whatever happens on your telephone, it goes on YouTube. My name is associated to it and I have to work overseas. So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to elevate Saint Lucia. I'm not going to give them what they're used to having. So I am sorry, when I knew that they were paying foreign singing talents $500,000 US to be here. Excuse me, if I had that money to put on, what I did last night, and I did with basically nothing, I'm sorry, if I had that amount of money, I could have done even better, because I wanted a stage out of mirrors, because I wanted the girls to come out of a mirror box, and I wanted it in keeping with, the Audi building. And it had to be something very futuristic and very graphic. And I had given the plans for this.
And what reasons did the tourist board give you for not respecting or going forward with that request for
a financial problem? It was a financial problem.
And what would have been the difference between what was produced and what you proposed to them as far as the cost of doing it?
They could not have gotten mirrors. Mirrors were too expensive. So then May Wayne decided that we use plexiglass, and we could have gotten the plexi here. And then, I said okay for the plexi. And then when we said okay for the plexis, we would use aluminum on the side, use plexi in the middle, so we can get, the effect that I was looking for, because I could not get the mirrors, But on the day before the show, I showed up at the Audi building, and I saw a stage that was the signature of Adrian, and it was not what I had asked for. You know, I had asked for, you know, even if he had given me this, you know, there were columns everywhere. People were paying their monies to come to a show, and they were sitting front row seat, you know, and the columns were barring their view. You know, these columns were supposed to be taken back with a bridge over it because we could not put lights in the in the roof of the Audi building. You know, on the floor we could not nail the mirrors. You know, but I did not want a runway. I wanted, you know, I wanted a small runway with wood underneath it, but also with, you know, the aluminum and the plexi. When I got there, I saw a stage that was built out of material, I think, that were used from another stage, because that stage, I had seen it somewhere already.
So that means you guys were not communicating at all?
There was no communication. I also stipulated that I wanted to be there when they were building the stage. I arrived at the Audi building and the stage was done already. And the stage was done out of what? It was done out of cardboard, aluminum, and some cheap, you know, polyester fabric.
But how could that have been? If you're the creative director and you have your vision and you're going forward with your vision for this show, which is obviously one of its kind, the first of its kind rather, how is it that this was able to happen without you knowing of it, you know, going back to the communication? And
I knew there was going to be a problem with Adrian from the beginning, because Adrian was already mandated to do the runway. And when I went to the Audi building, I felt there was no use for a runway the way they wanted the runway, because it was my vision now, you know, in the sense that I was going to be the creative director, and as the creative director, I knew what I was looking for. So I spoke to Adrian, and Adrian told me, texto. When I say texto, he said it out right to me. Tell me, what you're looking for, Vincent, is going to cost taxpayers too much money. Adrian is talking to me about taxpayers' money. Please, you know, give me a break. You know, so I said, Adrian, you know, at least try and find something close to what I'm looking for. Okay, we could not get plexiglass, but look at this table. It's made out of Mecca. You could have just put Mecca on wood and place it down on the floor for me. So that's what I was looking for. I wanted that shiny effect.
Right. No, so, I mean, in terms of all these decisions, and you're talking about, it seems to me that there was some confusion.
There was no communication whatsoever.
But that would have been taken care of if you had put it in writing. Okay, this is what is required. This is what I require for this to happen. Was there any, I mean, contract between you and the board indicating that I'm going to put on this show, but this is what I require?
Well, probably that's where the communication started wrong, because there was no contract between me.
There was no contract?
None whatsoever. And no matter what anybody can say, like, there was no contract between us. None whatsoever. They didn't propose any contract to me. And I was coming in and I was giving all of this, so they kind of took it on that I was giving back, and then I didn't need a contract. You know, do you realize the models signed a contract and the models did not get a copy of the contract? This is not normal. You know, everybody, when you sign a contract, you have two copies. The model get one and you get one. Mm-hmm. You know, but then and again, the model's contract, I looked at it and it needs to be revised. You know, so, but anyhow.
I mean, there's so much to talk about, and we were on Haute Couture and the
yeah, we were on Haute Couture.
Just before we go to break, yeah, let's
when
talk
I
about
got to Saint Lucia, you know, I was at a meeting with Don Challery, who was liaising for them, you know. And while I was at the meeting with Don Challery, I said to Don, you know, what's the name given to the event? And Don told me they had stopped on Mode Saint Lucia. So I didn't like that. I felt it was cheap and it was not visionary, and you know, I felt something should have been done about it. So then I said to Don Challery, then why don't they call it Haute Couture? Because you could not use the word Haute Couture because it's a French appellation and they could have had a court case on their hands.
See, okay.
You know, so you could not use it. So Don Challery said to me, what was very funny, great minds think alike, she had thought of Haute Couture as well. So I'm coming from millions of miles away, and I'm saying Haute Couture, and she had already submitted that name. Mm-hmm. And that name, Thaddeus Antoine, had looked into it already, Haute Couture, and, you know, but it was not chosen. So I went in the first day of the meeting with them, and I said to them, listen, guys, I live in France, and Saint Lucia, nobody knows about. This is not a brand. I said, guys, if you guys want to market this, have a bigger vision. Think outside the box. Saint Lucia is a brand. So why don't we call this Saint Lucia Haute Couture? And that's how they took the decision to keep it. Because I had come back with an idea that Don Challery had proposed to the tourist board.
Wonderful. And I mean, this thing was so resonant, haute couture.
Because I felt it was quite interesting to say, did you go to hot? Did you like hot? What did you find hot at hot? It's something that will remain with you, So because of that, I felt it was the best thing to do. And it was more international, and it served better the purpose of, the event than using Mode Saint Lucia, in fact.
Let's take a break now. You're watching Newsmaker Live. I'm Clinton Reynolds. I'm here with Vincent Mc Doom, the creative director of Haute Couture. And as we said, a fantastic show last evening at the Audi Showroom. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about going forward, what we can expect from Vincent and his collaboration on this extravaganza for Saint Lucia Jazz and Arts. Stay with us.